I have a yodeling pickle. I do have a yodeling pickle. I do. I have a yodeling pickle, and this is obviously I'm not as close to it as you are with the cat, but it does live in our tech, who's Warren T, who's actually from Boston. It lives in his work case, and before every show, I use the yodeling pickle for my sound check. Because I don't want to play chords, and Alice likes to say, look, no musical sounds before the show starts, before the intro tape, none of this, rap, rap, rap. So what I have is this yodeling pickle, and it's basically press a button, it yodels. I put it right next to the pickup of the guitar, and then I can adjust my in-ears to the sound. And now I know we've done enough shows. We've done hundreds of shows with a yodeling pickle. But the thing is, it comes through the speaker. It's a pickle. But everyone always wonders, what the fuck is that sound? And now I just gave it to you. It's the yodeling pickle that we sound check with.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 2020. I'm here, Siobhán Cronin, with my friends Benny Goodman and Cory Peza. How's it going, guys?
It's going really well.
And Benny is debuting his Belleville. I don't know the proper
Not
spelling.
debuting. Belleville has seen some time.
Debuting on the intros, perhaps. But anyway, stay tuned for this episode. We have part 2 today with Ryan Roxie. Go back and check out part 1 if you haven't yet. And of course, go to 2020-d.com. Like and subscribe. Watch the YouTube cast. These podcasts are more and more visual as we go along. So you definitely want to tune in to all the visual elements here.
Can see how Ryan got creeped out by Ben's stuffed crocheted animals.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, as just like part 1, Ryan's great. Really good stories, good old rock and roll stories.
Ryan Roxie, our guest.
I said Ryan Roxie. I introduced him.
Yes.
I
was too busy dancing as Belleville cathartically.
Yeah. Just warming up the
go to the YouTube and subscribe if you haven't so far, because that's the whole point.
Also
if
said
you
that.
haven't seen Belleville, you need to, so you could not sleep ever.
And here's to redundancy. Here's part 2 with Ryan Roxie on 2020. All right, hello and welcome to another episode of 2020. My name is Cory Peza, here as always with my co-hosts and cohorts, I was trying to say, and co-hosts at the same time, Siobhán Cronin and Benny Goodman. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty well. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going great.
I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking.
I'm very
Cory.
happy to hear that, Ben. And super happy to welcome back Ryan Roxie for part 2. If you haven't checked out part 1, make sure you go back and take a look. I mean, just super cool dude. We appreciate you taking your time with us, and great
More
stories.
than a dude, Cory.
Tuning in from Sweden too.
None of us have showered or changed clothes since the last time we met. That's weird. That is just weird.
We tried that once, but then we broke the suspension of disbelief. We let people know we did 2 in a day, and if we don't do 2 in a day, people know that people just don't like us that much, and they're done with us by the end of the first hour.
Yeah,
so thank you for sticking around, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you for sticking around for 5 days in the same clothes.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for having me.
Alice Cooper ritual.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So in our last episode, we talked a lot about being an Alice Cooper band, a lot of your other great stories and experiences. I'm curious about how you got into that. Maybe fill us in a little bit. You mentioned moving to LA and some of the early heydays of living there, a lot of cool experiences. How did you meet Alice, or what were some of the projects that led up to that maybe?
I think every project that you do leads you to your next band or your next project. When I do clinics or when I go out and do any sort of events where I'm talking about it, I say, hey, look next to you, the band members that you're with, and be cool to them. Don't try your best not to split up because of musical differences, which usually means, there's some sort of strife that's not anything but musical. Try and be cool with the band members that you are in a band with now, because they will open the door to the next gig that you have. And that's exactly what happened with Alice Cooper, because before I was playing with Alice, I was playing with Gilby Clarke. And Gilby and I had a long history together since the mid 80s, we played in a power pop band called Candy. And I say power pop because it was definitely loud Marshalls, Marshall amps, and Les Pauls, but the songs we were playing were more pop driven, and it's just like the Raspberries. It was an influence, and Mark Bolan, T-Rex, Cheap Trick, obviously a huge influence in that. So it wasn't bubblegum pop, but at the same time, it was guitar-driven heavy pop, which eventually is always followed me in all my solo stuff, and a lot of the stuff that I contributed with Alice. I've always tried to put that pop element, which goes back again to AM radio growing up in the Bay Area, because there was a huge element of that. But I played in a band called Candy, and we played pretty much everywhere in Los Angeles that we could. That was with Gilby. That band splintered off into two different bands called, one was Kill for Thrills, and the other was Electric Angels. And Electric Angels eventually moved to New York, and we got our record deal with Atlantic. We lost our record deal with Atlantic. We definitely were, lost in the Atlantic, I guess, for a few years until I moved back to Los Angeles. And during that time, Gilby had gotten into another band, a small band you might have heard of called Guns N' Roses. And
wait, he's not Buckethead.
He's not. He was the original Buckethead, I guess. He actually had come in right after Izzy Stradlin.
I love Guns N'
all
Roses.
the where's Izzy is where's Gilby, and Gilby Izzy. It kind of was a great fit. It was
the first time that because people that it was the front of the fucking record, and that's only because the record label wouldn't put the real cover on the front of Appetite for Destruction, but it had a picture of Izzy. So people wanted Izzy. You know what I mean? Like, I almost say that like Richard Fortus has like a very Izzy look to him. But Gilby Clarke stepped into those shoes, but he was a great guitarist. But what was that like?
I think Gilby was Gilby was the perfect fit for that band at that time.
I loved him in it.
And you have to understand, Gilby kind of got into Guns N' Roses at the very best time you could get into it, because it was right from that switch of, headlining theaters and doing arena tours, probably more or less as a support act, to all of a sudden being headlining stadiums. So he kind of just did
Metallica, Guns N' Roses, man.
Yeah,
Faith No More. That was an awesome tour.
I remember him calling me saying,
Soundgarden.
I was the band Electric Angels. We were all living in New York, and I remember him calling me saying, "Hey, Roxie, you want to come out and see me play tomorrow night?" And I go, "Yeah, I'll come see your new band. Who are you playing with?" And he goes, "Well, let me just tell you the venue we're playing." I said, "Okay, where are you playing at?" Because you got to understand, this was before, everybody could post up what the hell was happening. There wasn't like a story to be heard. No, it had to come out in a cycle, and it usually took a long time. And Gilby got into Guns N' Roses so quickly that he had to learn, literally in 1 or 2 weeks, he had to learn 40 or 50 songs for this huge tour. He calls me up and he says, "Hey, I'm playing Madison Square Garden." I said, "What? What band are you in?" He goes, "I'm in Guns N' Roses." I said, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And so it was actually that sort of surreal, like, wow, one of us is up there now. That's great. So it says that only inspired me more to work hard. And when I eventually did move back to Los Angeles, he invited me into his solo band. I toured with him. It was my first real taste of international touring. All the decadence of a radio promotion, all the fun of doing my first tour bus, that type of stuff. There was a lot of firsts with playing with Gilby. And when a couple of years after that, Alice Cooper started noticing myself and Gilby in this, being this rock duo, and he was looking for another guitar duo. And he actually inquired about, like, what do you think, would Gilby be interested, maybe Gilby in this guy that he's got, Ryan? Would they be interested maybe in coming out to audition? And unfortunately, Gilby couldn't do it. He was still involved with his own solo stuff, but he totally gave me the endorsement to get it. He goes, "Ryan, you got to get this gig. This is a game changer for you. Go out and get this gig." So I went down there and I auditioned, and I knew that They were looking for two things. They were looking for an 80s shredder to play all the sort of, I guess, newer Alice Cooper era songs at that time, and which would be the Poisons, the Feed My Frankenstein.
Well, Feed My Frankenstein is literally like a list of the most insane. It's like what, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, and Slash.
Steve Vai on the same song, and of course, you know, I think Slash played on Lost in America as well, and so there's this. They had their shredder in Reb Beach. But even though, I mean, there was a lot of shredders that were down at the audition. And Reb is a great, great player. I really love his playing. I love his storytelling. You know, you think I have a couple stories up my sleeve. This guy has even more. And he's super, super great to hang with. And a lot of people don't understand that being in a band, you got to be a good player. You have to be a certain level of musicianship.
That just gets you in the room.
That gets you in the room. The second thing is you got to fucking be on time. Don't be late. All right?
Yes.
You're disrespecting, you know, countless other people's time when you show up late. So Alice's golden rule is 5 minutes early is 5 minutes late. He's never been late to a show. He's always, so I learned from that. So you got to be that, and you got to learn how to hang out on a bus. You got to learn how to hang out with all these personalities that are going to be different. It's going to be edgy sometimes. It's going to be, but you have to be able to just hang with it and ride with it. So I knew he was looking for that 80s shredder guy. I said, you know what? There's another type of player he's looking for because he has all those old school classics. I could be the more legato 70s Alice Cooper, you know, sustain, you know, listen to that sustain sort of guy, you know.
Well, I actually, the way I've named what you do, it's the butter. You're like the artery clogging butter of Alice Cooper. You're like that thick rhythm channel, like just straight up vibe that he needs from that old school 70s thing that just gives that, like I see with the ES335s and like the, you know, the perfect looking Les Pauls, and you're just like, look at this is tone, kids. You're the tone guy. You're like basically like you are the sustained dude, and that's all you need to do, because when I saw it, I say it's tasty. It's that you're staying in your lane, tasty. You're not trying to do the Nita Strauss like I play with Jason Becker. I could do Marty Friedman. You're not that guy. You're the dude that stays in your lane. You do your 70s stuff. And you just own it. You own it straight to the bank, from every hat that you wear to your clothes to your swagger on stage. And it's funny because when I saw your podcast, I was almost upset that you were nice. Because when I see you live, I'm like, he's like this stoic, like badass, like you're smiling. But you're like, because I'm killing that fucking chord. Like that Dimebag Darrell, like I owned that. And like you own it. You like just look at it, you're like looking at the crowd, like, did you see that I just played that song perfectly? Well, yeah, you did.
I think there was a time where I wasn't nice. I think there was a time that I think there was a time where everything goes to your head. It's almost like those classic VH1 shows where, you know, it's like you start believing the hype and then you crash and burn. Not in such a big way for, you know, me. I've been lucky enough to sort of keep things pretty straight, but there was definitely some, you know, ego fuckery going on in my head, you know, for a while. I can see that. I did, you know, throughout my tenure of Alice Cooper, I was that 70s guy when I first started out. And then when I transitioned over to that more stage left, and I started playing with Slash, and it started to become a bit of a circus now. And I got back together with Alice on this Brutal Planet tour. I had got blonde dreadlocks. So all of a sudden, I was the hot blonde. You know, it was before Alice had hired any hot blonde musicians, right? I was the hot blonde at that point. And
you were the boobs of Alice Cooper.
It's when I could actually compete shirtless with Chuck Garrick on stage. I mean, that's an impossibility these days, but there was a time when if I would suck it in just right, I could be like, you could almost see bookends there, because Chuck has always had this, you know, he's been ultra cut. And that again is another inspiring thing.
That Joe Perry sandblasted, like he's not jacked, but he looks like heroin sandblasted him down to his straight up like torso, but he's always like perfectly tan, and like, you know, if you do talk to a guy like Paul Geary, he'll tell you that like Joe Perry will wake up and make eggs in that stuff, but it's like that sandblasted rock and roll look. I endorse
Ben,
that.
Okay, Ben, enough. We don't need to hear from you.
Continue, Ryan. Sorry.
There's a lot of talk about Joe Perry's torso. In fact, we could have a whole episode.
I
on
love
just
Joe Perry.
Actually, we should have a whole nother show and just call it Joe Perry's torso because his overly tan torso, and obviously Joe Perry is one of the guys that we look up to. I mean, come on, the bandana in the back pocket. That's something that I think all of us rock and rollers sort of borrowed from. Whether it was Joe borrowing from, Johnny Thunders or maybe a little bit of both. And there's a guys that we all look up to. And I say this new school, and even though we're older guys now, we were all looking at the same album covers. We were all looking at the same Aerosmith album covers, looking up to Joe, as an image. We were all looking at the same Hanoi Rocks records, looking at Andy McCoy for image. We were all looking at the same New York Dolls, Johnny Thunders album covers. We were all looking at the Rolling Stones, Keith Richards and Ron Wood. So maybe it is one of those passing of the torches where it's like the Stones sort of passed it on to Aerosmith, sort of passed it on to Hanoi, who sort of passed it on to guys like myself, or maybe Dragon from the Backyard Babies, and how many of us LA guitar players we look up to those album covers? Because I mean, again, it goes back to that experience of listening to music while staring at an album cover and dreaming.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what we were talking about because you got me totally sidetracked.
No,
basically
Ben,
just
Ben,
explain what
Ben,
the
Ben,
manifest
It's a
is.
talent. Yeah, it's a talent that Ben has. No, you were talking about when you were the blonde.
Yeah, I became the blonde, and then I was a much more. I think the ego took a little bit more of control, and then I moved to Sweden. And when I got back into the Alice Cooper band, that's when I really was in. That was in 2012. I was able to take stock in all the things that I felt I could improve upon in this next sort of venture of playing with Alice Cooper, because I got a second chance. I got this opportunity to tour with Alice again. And I think since that 2012 tour, going back out with Alice, and our first tour was with Iron Maiden, and that was playing these huge amphitheaters all across the U.S. That really put things in perspective for me about, okay, know my role, what I can do as a support, and at the end of the day, the most important thing we can do is play the songs in the same spirit that whatever band Alice had put together on those albums, we play with that song with that same spirit. That's why, in some senses, we are a cover band. We just have the luxury of having the original singer because we get to cover all these amazing eras. Like From the Inside is this whole era of Alice Cooper music that's so musical, or whether it's the 80s Clones era, where Alice went a little punk rock, or whether it's the industrial era where I got to be a part of it in Brutal Planet. So, or whether it went back to garage rock with Eyes of Alice Cooper or Dirty Diamonds, which I was able to, have a hand in the writing along with the rest of the band. So I think we all kind of realize that our roles are all supporting the songs. And then when it's our turn to fucking solo, then go out there and be as big a rock star as you can.
That's amazing. You said such incredible stuff in the last, this whole episode. And you have such amazing perspective. I'm curious. So you mentioned that you got a second chance to go back. At some point you left, or I'm not sure what happened or if you can talk about it.
Sweden.
But okay, so you moved to Sweden. So what happened in the interim? And was that something that kind of changed your, how did you leave the band and come back? How did your perspective change, or what sorts of things happened in that interim?
The honest truth was, I wanted to see my kids grow up in these early formative years. I didn't know, my personal relationship with my ex was going to end, pan out the way it did, but it did. So we ended up living in two separate households, 90 meters. That's how I live in Europe. Literally about, 130, 150 feet away from each other, two different apartments. But, I was able to be there while they grew up in a lot of these formative years. And what I ended up doing there is I learned how to appreciate all the things that at the later years of not being an Alice Cooper that I had started to take for granted. You know, when you start looking forward more to a day off than a show day, then it's time to like reassess and go, okay, what am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Remember what you appreciate about it. Remember all the things that you wanted to do and want to achieve when you were aspiring. You would have killed to play in front of half as many people. So what is it that's happening? So I was able to take stock in that. And when I came back, I think I had a much better perspective. And I've been thankful ever since. And obviously this last year, you guys know, you put a podcast together. I put my podcast together. It's fucking sucks not having a gig. We need to perform. So that's it's almost another perspective for us to look at of like, okay, we've had this year and a half, almost 2 years of not touring. Like, what are we going to do different this time? And what can we do to even appreciate, the live shows more? Can
you talk a little bit about how that affected you? You know, the lockdown on touring and everything. As someone who's done it for so long, was the podcast? You said it was late 2019 that you started it. So was that something that?
Yeah, but I wasn't doing it weekly like the way I did it when the pandemic started.
Okay.
It lit a fire under my ass. Like, I really realized that, you know what, the true reality, as much as we want to think that Alice is going to tour until he's 103, just like Jimmy the Cricket, he's going to tour until he's 103. But it is going to be a finite amount of time. You know, it's not going to, go forever. So this kind of just put it in perspective, like, okay, what happens if it stops 5, 10, who knows how many more years? When Alice wants to retire, he will retire. So that means I just don't want to be like, what do I do now? I had to prepare some stuff. So I did 2 things. One was start the podcast because it's something that I've always done since 2005. I think I was one of the first rock and rollers, at least, to have a podcast. I called it Big Rock Show in 2005. I heard about this guy, Adam Curry. Remember him from MTV?
Adam Curry. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
He's the podfather. He's the guy that sort of invented the podcast. That's what they call it. Yeah.
Wow, this is
I
interesting.
wrote into him with my opinion of what I thought the Strange video for Guns N' Roses with Gilby Clarke was about.
Wow. Fill us all in.
That was my age.
If you can figure that out, then I guess you can actually.
No, I'm saying I was so young that you could actually like see at the end of the MTV thing, like you can actually write in. I thought maybe he would read my letter. So I drew all over it and I interpreted the Estranged video because it came out in like 92. I was born in 82, so you can figure out the age, whatever. Or 93 it came out or whatever it is with the dolphins and all that. And I wrote it to Adam Curry. And I thought his hair was awesome because he was like the blonde guy.
He had Steve West haircut. There you go.
Yeah, the Steve West. He kind of looked like Steve Clark.
Yep. There he is. A little bit like Steve Clark, a little bit like Steve West. All Adam Curry. But the thing is, the funny thing I remember about the Estranged video, watching it, and I was at Gilby's house watching it. Well, it was live on MTV.
Oh my God.
And afterwards, the VJ just goes, wow. That was it. Just one word. It was just a one-word sort of thing after that because it got a little kooky back in those older years. But anyway, I started the podcast, because I had read something about Adam Curry doing this with podcasts and RSS feeds and blah, blah, blah. So I've been dabbling in it for many, many years. I had a rock and roll interview type of show. I wanted to be like the Jon Stewart of rock and roll because I always was into The Daily Show. Love Jon Stewart. And so I had a show, Big Rock Show again, but this time it was on Swedish television. And we got to interview a lot of Swedish artists, a lot of different types of Swedish artists, whether it was Armand Armath, all to the Helicopters, to, Electric Boys. And we even had Zakk Wylde on as well. So, I mean, we had a good run, a good season. And then I've done a couple of different things. And then I've just settled okay, 2020, we're not going to tour this year. It looks pretty bleak for touring, even though they kept dangling the carrot in front of our heads, saying, hey, I think it's going to open up in summertime.
Yeah.
Maybe in the, longer. I kind of knew that we were, once we stopped our touring, because we did actually tour in 2020. We toured Australia and New Zealand with Airborne, killer Australian rock band Airborne, and the MC50 with Wayne Kramer. So we were able to do those gigs, but when we came back, everything just kind of shut down. That's when the world shut down. So immediately I just said, you know what? I got to take this podcast seriously, put the team together. We have a great producer, Vic Chalfant. He was totally invested. He goes, look, let's just make this happen some way. We can do it. And then, we got every certain person that would come and join the team. We'd say, okay, what's your strength? What's your strength? Federica, our social media coordinator, she does great promotion. Robbie and Miller and Dave Rattenberry, they do great, analyzing and consulting and sort of research. And then Scotty Hagen, he's great at fucking marketing and all that kind of stuff. He's actually the CEO of our record label that I put my last solo album out on. So we had a team, and then we just started doing episodes, and then more episodes and more episodes, and now we're in close to 100 episodes.
Nice.
So yeah, we're in it. It's a weekly thing, and that's one of the things they did. The other thing was put together a guitar class, a thing called the System 12 Guitar Method. I wanted to teach people guitar in a relatively short amount of time. I think guitar teachers, it's not their fault, no fault of their own, but most teachers need you as a customer, as a client, as long as you can afford to pay and as long as you can, hang in there.
Yep.
Because your income. I want you one and done. Buy the course, learn guitar, go on, tell more friends about it.
But what if I want to hang out with you? Because I feel like I hire a lot of people to teach me guitar just so we can talk to each other and I can be like, do you think this riff is cool? And he's like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, what mode is it in?
I think you found out, Benny, you started a podcast and you invited me on. So here we are. We are hanging out. See?
Oh, man, cool. Can you give me a lesson, man? Can you just show me something cool?
He can send you his course.
Well, on one of those old Gibsons, are those old Gibsons or those reissues? Please tell me. Am I insulting you even asking?
No. This is the one we would teach on. No, this is the one that I like to write the songs on.
The Hummingbird is beautiful.
Yeah, the Hummingbird. Yeah,
what year is that thing?
You know what? It's in the 2000s, but it's been beat up and it's been played enough gigs now where it's gotten relicked all on its own.
That's the best kind.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. And then actually, where the hell? That's a 7. This is my favorite one. This is my go-to. It's a
I've seen it.
It's a 78 Les Paul Cherry
Beautiful.
Burst. But the thing that's different and sort of cool about it, it's got the burst in the
wow,
as well as the headstock.
That is cool. Anyone that's just listening to the podcast, make sure you check out
watch
the YouTube.
the video.
Is it Norland era heavy? Is it like Dark Matters? It's like 16 pounds.
And it's a little bit heavy. It's not Norland era though, but it was a little bit right after, like 78, 79, somewhere around that. I do have a 72 that's Norland era. That's the sandwich body. That's really nice. That's Goldie. But anyway, I mean that's just. The System 12 method, I want to teach people in a really short amount of time, and the things that people know about already, apply that to music. So the number 12 comes up a lot. All right. And the idea is, you take the course, you're going to learn 12 songs or 12 riffs. You're going to learn it in 12 weeks. There are 12 notes total in music. There's actually 7 whole notes, but then with their sharps and flats, there's only 12 notes. That's all you have to learn. On the guitar neck, there's 12 frets until it repeats itself. So this number 12 comes in all over the place. And if anyone's interested in playing guitar, because that's my whole mission now, is get people inspired with the podcast and then get people to play guitar, just go to ryanroxie.com and you can find all that stuff with System 12.
That's amazing. I mean, I think that's kind of what a lot of people are doing now. And obviously this is very unique, but it's hard when you're teaching, I think, to have the bandwidth or the time to just reach people. And so I think when you put together like a method or a course or something that is easily shareable or, gives you all of the basics that you need to know, you're right. I mean, a student, you should be able to give as much to them at once and have them take it out into the world. Otherwise,
Siobhán, hold on, fact check that. So you don't have 12 frets, do you?
That we have no frets.
So what is he even talking about? Is that even accurate?
Well, violin. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder. That really doesn't
I'm
exist.
completely accurate when I say there's only 12 notes in music.
No, I'm
yeah.
just messing. I'm just
Right,
messing because
absolutely.
I
No,
absolutely know that. I just love to give Siobhán a hard time because
Right,
she's
'cause
so
I'm a
classically
violinist,
trained.
so
She'll
I-
actually try to think of like a logical answer to my complete stupidity.
Well, Eric Weinstein, who I had on the podcast, I don't know if you guys know Eric Weinstein. He's a super smart guy, dude. Really intellectual dude. He was trying to tell me, well, that's not really true because there's actually 24 notes or 25 notes in the Gregorian
Chord
way.
tones.
And I was like,
Microtones.
whoa.
Yeah.
Are we talking 440 or 442, 443? Like what? How are you tuning
There's
it,
all the
man?
space in between notes on the fretless violin. Yeah, that's true. But no, technically 12
Ravi
pitches, for
Shankar.
sure.
Come on, man. He was in, but he did all those weird notes in between.
He did a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah.
Western music.
Yeah. No, but in the violin world, that's something that's really missing because like violin is it's so inaccessible to a lot of people. Like you really do, the system still exists where you really do have to have the money to buy a violin, have the money to pay a teacher that's expensive because it's violin, and it's there really is no system. It's not the type of instrument where you can easily go on the internet or purchase like a video course and learn because it's just, it just doesn't
Luckily
really exist.
for guitar, you can, and I've created it with the System 12. And on top of it, it's the platform that we use. The technology is so good. I don't think anyone has taken the technology that's out there and applied it to the old school mentoring that is definitely needed when you're learning an instrument. So I figured, like, look, I'm an old school guy. I can inspire you. I can help you, through the video, get to that next level of guitar playing. Like I said, beginner, intermediate, up. You can get up to that level for sure. But the platform that we're using has scrolling tablature and notation and a virtual guitar neck that goes along with the video. Mm-hmm. So while you're watching the video, you're actually getting tab and notes and
so it's not just Paul Gilbert sitting there going, "Hey man, do that." You're like, "I'll slow it down," and even when it's slow, you're like, "That's stupid. I will never do that. I don't know why you're playing a Purple Ibanez. I can't do that. Sweep picking. I don't even sweep my fucking floor, Gilbert."
Paul Gilbert's first. I
He ate the grape.
because when I was doing the research for System 12, I was looking at all these older, videos, guitar videos, and here's a funny fact, and not a lot of people know this. Satchel, guitarist of Steel Panther, he's in Paul Gilbert's first guitar video playing bass in the jam band. So he's actually he's playing bass, and he's such a good player himself, Satchel. But he's next to Paul Gilbert, and then they have some superstar drummer, and it's like I actually went on and I learned one of the exercises that you're talking about, and even when he played it slow, I was like,
there's
I had to slow it down even more.
His he does the 3-note per string major scale exercise, and one of those that I use to this day. It's like my warm up because it's the one thing I could play on that whole thing.
Oh wow, that's the one that I learned too.
Well, dude, listen, I know it too. The no. Which one are we talking about now? Is it the alternate picking one?
Dude, it's a thing between me and Cory. We're having
we got
I'm
this.
sorry.
Yeah.
I do love that video though. Dude, did you get the keys to the Lamborghini? Did you get those from Batio? Hi, I'm Michelangelo Batio, and I'm going to give you the keys to the Lamborghini. Is it Ferrari or Lamborghini? Yeah. And then he plays that ridiculous song.
Yeah.
This is not a sexual thing. This is like
Speed kills.
It is a sexual thing.
Speed kills. He's like, oh, by the way, I'm going to play guitar at an inhuman level, and then I'm going to try to tell you how you can do that too. But no one could do it. Yeah. Not even Stanley Jordan, who invented it.
That's why it's nice. I'm guessing the way you described your course, it seems like it kind of, it's less intimidating than some of those other very more advanced players that if you're starting out guitar, you're like, I like this guitar, so I'm going to check out their course, and you turn it on, you go, fuck that. Yeah.
No, this takes you, literally from, if you've never played guitar, you'll be able to learn a song your first lesson. And if you already play guitar, you're going to go, holy shit, I didn't ever realize that it's that simple.
Yeah.
Because it's basically opposite of what a lot of traditional playing is. You know how in traditional guitar playing, you almost start learning wrong. The first thing that you're taught in traditional guitar playing are your first position chords, where your hand, which you've never played an instrument, is forced to do all these weird things and try to do it in time and try to resemble some sort of acoustic song that you didn't want to learn in the first place. So the thing where I do is I say, screw that. You're going to learn your first position chords, but that's way down the line of the lessons. First thing you're going to learn are your 7 notes. And in fact, even shorter than that, first thing you're going to learn are the notes on your 6th string and 5th string. Because once you know the notes with just one finger on your 6th string and your 5th string, which are the thicker strings, you'll be able to play these things called power chords. Yeah. And once you know power chords, you can play any song ever written. Yeah. So, I mean, before you start learning all these crazy inversions of bar chords and all that stuff, just learn one finger, one note. And that's the way we kind of go. We kind of do it a little bit non-traditional, but I think in at least in my brain, it makes complete sense and hopefully will become the new norm for when people start learning in future times. Because I mean, it is going. I think the guitar is one of those things that when the apocalypse does come, a guitar will always come in handy. It won't be so easy to just drag around your electric, whatever. If you have a drum set or something like that, maybe drums will still be, because you'd be banging on sticks and rocks. but a guitar will always come in handy, whether it's taking it on your foraging to, battle the zombies, to, hype you up to kill zombies, whatever it is. But the guitar, I feel, is that instrument that'll always close the deal and always be able to learn. Because there isn't going to be DJing and record players when there's no fucking electricity.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: in building your course, where did you draw inspiration for what sorts of methods to use? And I guess this relates back to what are some of the things that you learned in learning guitar yourself that you've incorporated into the course?
Mostly how to look at the guitar. That's the thing that I learned. I look at the guitar a bit differently because of the number 12 and the fret dots. A lot of people, there's these fret markers that you don't use, or you're confused by them, and so I explain it in such a way where that you can actually work your way around the guitar, and it's almost mathematical. Like if you can count in order A, B, C, D, E, F, G back to A, that's it. Or if you can count 1 to 12, you can memorize all your notes rather quickly. You do it in a video game. You do it in some sort of computer program. Why can't you do it on a guitar? It's just putting a finger on, this fret, this string. That's this note. Okay, I equate that forever. This note, I equate this note on this fret forever. So once you have that down, it's pretty much now when someone tells you a song, you can just basically play it. If I go, here's a little test. You play guitar, Cory, right? Ben,
I try to.
How you're way advanced, right? Where would you put yourself?
I'd put myself probably between Green Day and Nirvana.
Okay, and do you play guitar as well, Siobhán?
No, I don't.
Okay, so
when she said she doesn't play, she's probably literally
no, I really
don't. Better than all three of us.
Yeah, no, she told me she didn't play piano, and she is playing Franz Liszt, just in the background.
Violin players always kick
absolute
ass
asshole about her
everything.
fucking abilities. She's a liar.
All right, well, I will concentrate on stage left.
Yes,
okay.
That's what you're looking at.
Siobhán, you don't matter.
Cory and
Benny.
It's fine.
Cory and Benny. If I go, these are notes. Now visualize first. Notes on the 6th string, all just 6th string. You got to name what song this is. A, F, F, G, 2, 3, 4. A, F, F, G, 2, 3, 4. What song is that?
Every Iron Maiden song.
a lot of them, and is close to it. But Cory, do you have
Except
a
there's
guess?
din, 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 with Steve Harris. First off,
Is that Dio?
Yes, it's
Rainbow
Dio.
in the Dark.
There
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
All right, Benny, you got it.
Well, hold on. But just so you know, that could be Stairway to Heaven, parts of Stairway to Heaven. That could be part of Don't Cry. Don't you cry
No,
to see.
Stairway to Heaven would be AGF.
And does walks down like that. So that's why I'm like, he's not playing Vivian Campbell, is he? He's playing Vivian Campbell for real?
Oh, so you assumed it was.
No, I actually thought it was Dio,
Yeah.
but then it was weirding me out because I'm like, that's not what
Well,
he's trying.
I was
thought
thrown off
Electric
'cause-
Light Orchestra.
And this is just
All right, Ben,
my
Let
over
Cory talk.
analytical brain. Isn't there like an open E in there? So
right.
Yes,
I'm-
yes. Okay,
so
okay.
I'm sorry. This is my
That's
fault for
actually
the way
what
my
kind of,
brain works with
made me
music.
question it.
So you both knew it. You both knew it, but you didn't say anything. So that's actually good because you were saving face for me. But if you want to learn how to play, and like I said,
Most people don't know Vivian Campbell, bro.
well,
And he's
but
in Def Leppard.
everybody knows Dio. Dude,
Well, I mean-
Ronnie James Dio. He's in a Tenacious D video.
Yes.
We just did a
Tenacious
cover of
D.
Gates to Babylon, and my cat, by the way, played the keyboard parts in it. So just so you know, we did the Cozy Powell, Richie Blackmore, and Dio in Rainbow. So it's not really an homage just to Dio, but to also Blackmore and the immortal spirits of Jimmy Bain from Thin Lizzy and Cozy Powell, who we know is one of the greatest drummers ever.
That's one of the creepiest things I've ever seen.
I know, isn't it awesome?
Dude, I'm telling you.
It's so creepy.
Do you still sleep with that at night?
No, dude, my daughter's friend's mom crocheted this for me, and then she made me like a really nice, happy cat. She made me this cat. Hold on, I gotta show you this.
This cat makes an appearance in every podcast.
Does this happen all the time on the show?
Oh, yeah.
She made
Yeah.
me this
Yeah.
thing. And it's
This is
huge,
normal.
but it's like way not creepy. I like this because it looks like it's about to put a hex on you. This is
They're
like
both pretty
hi.
creepy.
Well, I mean, this is like
All of this is
Gremlins
pretty
creepy.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a whole nother genre of fetish that I can't even get in right now. It's like, there's Furbies, and then there's this whole new thing of cat stuffed animal.
This cat
people.
plays in two videos with David Aberzees of Pearl Jam, with Carmine, who played it with bass with David Bowie. We had Bernard, who sings for the
The
Rolling
cat's
Stones.
discography
with the
is
cat.
irrelevant at the
with
moment,
the cat,
but-
dude. The cat's in the video.
Back to the lesson
I have a
at hand.
yodeling pickle. I do have a yodeling pickle. I do. I have a yodeling pickle, and this is obviously I'm not as close to it as you are with the cat, but it does live in our tech, who's Warren T, who's actually from Boston. It lives in his work case, and before every show, I use the yodeling pickle for my sound check. Because I don't want to play chords, and Alice likes to say, look, no musical sounds before the show starts, before the intro tape, none of this, rap, rap, rap. So what I have is this yodeling pickle, and it's basically press a button, it yodels. I put it right next to the pickup of the guitar. And then I can adjust my in-ears to the sound. And now I know we've done enough shows. We've done hundreds of shows with a yodeling pickle. But the thing is, it comes through the speaker. Yodel, it's a pickle. But everyone always wonders, what the fuck is that sound? And now I just gave it to you. It's the yodeling pickle that we sound check with.
Well, hopefully when we come and see you in September, when you come around with Alice Cooper and Ace Frehley.
Listen up for the yodeling
Can I
pickle.
ask you this? So
Does your cat yodel? Does your cat yodel? And honestly,
they're gonna be so angry because here's a secret. I am the cat. So like, if you tell the cat to yodel, that just means you're telling Siobhán and Cory that they have to listen to me.
you're not
yodel
coming to
as a
the
cat.
show if you bring that cat. I'm telling you right now.
I don't have to
Cat's
bring
too
the cat
creepy,
to the
dude.
show.
I feel like I'm gonna get some sort of
It's gonna
weird.
be front row, and you're
That's
just gonna see this
exactly-
thing
but
up.
that's how I want people to feel when they look at this cat. I mean, look
Those
at its
eyes, those green eyes are so
like in the middle of the
creepy.
night. It's just like looking over you, like, "How are you, Ryan? How's
haunts
everything
you.
going?" You know, I love how creepy it is. It's so genuinely creepy. And she didn't mean to make it creepy, but she made it creepy, and that's what I told her. And she's like, "Okay, well, I'm glad."
I don't know how this all turned
It's a cat.
south.
It's those eyes.
It usually happens around
turn
this time.
somewhere
Yeah.
at Catville and just never came
this
back.
happens in every episode, especially as we get to the end of the second one.
Yeah,
Benny
well,
goes
Point
off
is
the
to
rails.
check out the System 12 program.
Right, absolutely.
Learn how to actually play guitar, not to get derailed on how not to play the guitar. And by the way, it's Rainbow in the Dark. If you guys have not heard that song, it's off an album called Holy Diver, which, by the way, I will show you right now.
Great album.
gone.
The number of times Ben has gotten up from his mic in this episode is astounding.
I have a signed copy.
Oh wow,
of
there it
James
is.
Dio.
It's a great, that was on my wall growing up too. I had a bunch of
Holy Diver.
album covers
on.
on my wall, and that was one of them. We had the pleasure of touring with Ronnie James Dio back in the early 2000s. I think it was
Heaven
actually
and Hell,
2000, 2001. No, it was after. It was his solo stuff, and Craig Goldie was playing guitar, and I just remember his voice every single night, spot on. And here's the crazy thing about Ronnie. He has the best memory because we toured in I guess it was 2000, and then like years afterwards, I was at Long Beach Arena. I think I was going to see Kiss, and we're walking down, and we're walking back to the cars, and we walked through the back section of it because we got lucky because we knew Eric Singer. Eric Singer played with Alice Cooper, and now he played with Kiss, so we got the lucky VIP parking. So did Ronnie James Dio. I had no idea that Ronnie James Dio would remember me. Of course, we all know Ronnie, and first thing he says, he goes, "Ryan Roxie, how you doing, my friend?" And I was like, "Oh shit, Ronnie James Dio remembers my name. This is insane." That was my highlight.
Yeah.
I forgot all about Gene Simmons getting stuck up on the the wires and not being able to spit blood at the show, or Paul Stanley's rush across the stage and it stopping halfway, and I literally just forgot all about that cat. All I could remember was that Ronnie James Dio remembered my name.
That's amazing.
And
You know
that's
why?
Amazing.
it's not about who you know, it's who knows you. And that's such a testament, again, to your impression on people and the fact that Ronnie James Dio did remember you. It definitely goes down to the fact that you're a memorable guy. But what a wonderful testament to who you are as a person to have a guy. I call him the Freddie Mercury of metal. And not to say that Freddie Mercury wasn't metal in his own way, but
Such a great voice.
but he was like, you could hear him singing over the monitors. You know what I mean? Like his voice, like I got to be front row with Heaven and Hell. And I mean, you could hear him singing at you. And so like, I understand that. And it's one of those, and he's a guy that like, he didn't miss a note. He was always like the same thing between songs and all of that, like, oh, this is track off, the Mob Rules, track 2 on side B,
He would do it in a much slower voice. He goes, "Yeah, on this song."
Yeah.
It sounded
I mean, I'm way
almost
too
like he was-
high.
almost like he was doing like a jazz sort of
This is another
Frank
number.
Sinatra type. And this next song we're gonna do is one off of the Holy Diver album. And the thing, it's amazing, like you say, that he remembered my name, Ryan Roxie, but other than that, I just was thinking, and it kind of hit me now. What's the one thing that you couldn't remember, or you couldn't remember ever seeing? That would be a rainbow in the dark. How could you ever see a rainbow in the dark? You couldn't, right? Or could you? Or could Ronnie?
Yeah.
Could maybe tripping.
Or could that fucking cat?
Tripping. I guarantee you. Literally, David Abraziz is like, dude, take some acid, bro. You'll see rainbows everywhere,
Oh my God.
including the dark.
In the
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
I'm in the dark about this whole episode, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We-
we've
we
definitely
all
gone
are.
off
People
the
usually
rails.
are. Everybody is, including our listeners. That's why they keep coming back. But they're like, but why?
It's a great trophy room you got there, though. That is a
Well,
very
thank
nice
you,
one.
man. I appreciate it. I'm a hoarder.
Oh, that's nothing compared to his other, like the true guitar
It's
room.
very bad.
And Siobhán looks like honestly, Siobhán looks like would have been my apartment, like, because I had roommates in the 80s. Like if you lived in Hollywood, it would be like you get those blinds, and that would be your partitioned room. So
Oh,
that
yeah.
would be my entire room in the 80s of my apartment living.
Yeah.
And that would be like, this is my room.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on where she is. Between
Yeah.
Ohio, she's in a badass studio. But then if she's there in Miami, she's in a studio apartment.
Yeah, so I'm in a studio apartment, so this is like my makeshift like room divider thing. But you're totally right. Yeah, my husband's a guitar player, and so whenever I do podcasts from there, it's like these guys. There's guitars everywhere, and he's positioning stuff so people can see stuff in the background. I'm like, if someone asked me about this, I wouldn't even know what to say anyway. So.
My Kemper's talking to your Kemper while the VHG's talking to your Wagner.
Yeah, but Corey's a little obvious. Like he wants people to know that he also plays bass.
Does he though? Is that something you should be proud of, Cory?
Yeah, I get them all in there.
Guitar players get all the glory. Bass players get all the chicks, and they hold on to their per diems like no other.
Yeah.
I've never met a bass player that didn't have their per diem since the first tour they went on. So good for them.
Wow, that's the
like
first pro bass player
that.
advocate of all like 80-something episodes we've had. Like
I
it's
thought
always
it was kind of bashing bass players a little bit, just like
Well, no, I know, but that's nice by comparison to how we are with bass.
Yeah,
players.
there's been plenty of bassist jokes. I like the what's black and blue and bleeding in a ditch, like a guitarist that made too many bassist jokes.
Yeah.
Hey, well, listen, actually, you know what? I will say, I did get a book in the mail from Carol K that said good vibes and had a picture of a bass clef yesterday. So maybe that was the sign from the universe that bass is coming into my life.
You guys need to watch more jazz because like a lot of my friends here in Miami are jazz musicians and the bass players hold it down. They are like incredible. I mean, without the...
I feel like I've never met a bass player in their lives they hold it down. Like Jaco Pastorius, greatest bass player ever, but couldn't even find a place to live.
You want to hear a funny story about
Yes.
this? We're on tour with Alice. I believe it's during the Brutal Planet tour, or maybe it was the tour after that, Dragon Town. But Calico Cooper, who's Alice's daughter, she's in the show now. Now, currently, we have Alice's wife, Cheryl, who's in the band. So they've actually swapped positions a couple times where they've handed the whip, the leather whip, and the nurse's outfit. They've passed those back and forth a couple times. But so I've gotten a tour, with Calico and with Cheryl. So this is back in the days with Cheryl, or with Calico in the band. We're in Salt Lake City. There's a tattoo artist giving out free tattoos in Salt Lake City, Utah. Who wouldn't get one? Who wouldn't pass up on that? Me, because I have no tattoos.
Yeah,
that's my Alice Cooper. I look at you. You're Benny's kind of like no tattoo.
I have one token tattoo that I got just so my
here.
parents can't put me in a Jewish cemetery.
I got you. Yeah,
that was my rebel yell.
Okay, I got
everything else. It's all kosher.
Violin players don't really have tattoos, do they?
No, not really.
Not even a piece of like on your ankle or something like that?
No.
Cory, you're
I have nothing.
No.
Cory's
I'm too indecisive.
Okay,
I'm the same. I wouldn't know what to get. Yeah.
So Benny has the obligatory Paul Stanley cherry. Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's like the one. So we're kind of a tattooless bunch. Not the case here in Salt Lake City because everybody wants to get a tattoo. Well, at least two people do. Calico does, and the bassist, Greg Smith, does. But because it's kind of one of the first tattoos, or one of the everyone's a little bit hesitant, a little bit afraid of it, so we start drinking, and
Great.
it's at the end of the show. Everyone's at that point. Everyone's well drunk, and Greg Smith goes, "I want a tattoo now. Let's go get that free tattoo." And we get there, and we go, "What are we gonna get? And what are you gonna do, Greg?" He goes, "I don't know. Calico, draw a bass clef." Calico freehands a bass clef. Boom. 15 minutes later, guess what instrument Greg Smith plays? You'll never guess. He plays bass. And now he has a bass clef on his arm. Forever known. Designed by Calico Cooper.
There we go.
Yeah, that's my story.
That's
and at the same night, Calico Cooper got a tramp stamp put on that was a tiny bit too high. Because I think Brittany,
maybe
she
was a tiny bit
yell at me
too
for
high.
saying that. She'll go. Well, I don't know what the exact length or height of a tramp stamp should be. I think this was a little bit too high.
My fiance has a fairy,
What
and
a
she knows how I
description.
feel about it.
Okay. I think you should base all tramp stamps on whatever Britney Spears has. And then go from there on a height level, whether it's too high or too low. And I think honestly that's what Callie was going for, because at that time she was doing a bit. She did a bit of Britney, because we had a part where Britney would come out. I mean, Calica's an amazing performer. She performs in Chuck's band, Bisto Blanco, and Chuck and Calica have the band together, and they call Bisto Blanco, and they do this sort of Beauty and the Beast thing that they have, and it's a really cool combination between the two of them. I really like their band, and maybe she will be mad at me about that story about the tattoo, but I will always give her credit for designing Greg Smith's bass clef. And I remain tattooless through it all.
Wow, yeah, it's incredible.
You could have got a guitar clef put on your arm.
You know what I would have gotten if I would have known, like all these years ahead? What if I would have gotten the cat? And I was going to have turned around and it's that
my God, dude.
cat that you have.
That'd be hilarious. I thought you were talking about Peter Criss.
Yeah, Peter Criss. Yeah, no, I play with Eric Singer. I play with the.
No, well, we don't. See, listen, I'm from a time where Eric Singer is better on every single level. So, I am under no delusions that just because it's the original that it's better.
Well, I'm a huge Eric Carr fan as well.
Well, Eric Carr, again, he's a legend to the point where, obviously he's up there. He's not here anymore, so there's obviously a mystique of people that that are no longer here. But I've heard more people from that time period that loved Kiss tell me that they bought a drum set exactly like Eric Carr than anybody else. And I went back and watched his drum solo because I don't know. I'm an idiot, dude. I came into the Psycho Circus era. You know what I mean? I saw all of that. I didn't know how bad Kiss Alive that drum solo was. I didn't know how bad it was with all the delay. I didn't know as an adult. I just had this.
Though. It wasn't bad.
But it's not bad. But now I love it for what it is. But you go and watch Eric Carr, and you're like, okay. Gene Simmons and Paul literally found the guy that could do everything. And I have so much respect for that because it's one of those things where I learned later in life I should show respect. And that's a guy that you show respect to, and that give your devil horns to the heavens at all times.
Well, I'm actually doing an Eric Carr project tribute. That's for a charity that with some Swedish musicians that are actually Dragon's one of them from Backyard Babies, and I was just trying to look up the song that I just played guitar on, and it's he had some great stuff. So I played a little bit of on an Ace song, and I played some rhythm guitars on this Eric Carr song. So that should be coming out soon, and maybe we'll put the links up for that.
Sure,
yeah.
Yeah,
check
absolutely.
Yeah,
it's called the Eric Carr Project, and it's based here in Sweden. Gustav Kronfeldt, who designs a lot of my videos and edits a lot of the lyric videos that I put out for my newest solo album, he is sort of heading this project, and it's cool because it's all the proceeds go to charity. It's a good thing.
That's great. And on that note, obviously we appreciate you coming on. Real quick as we wrap up the last 5 minutes or so, what's coming up next for you?
By the time this airs, and hopefully it'll air sooner than later, we are going on tour. Let's keep our fingers crossed that everything remains in a forward motion. At this point, it's tough to say. It is the United States, and we're living in a crazy world. And but hopefully everything works out so that we can tour as many states as possible. And all the tour in September, October. Alice Cooper, Ace Frehley. It's going to be a good double bill. We've toured with Ace before in Australia. He's an amazing dude, and his band that he's got going out now is all top notch, all guys from Nashville. So I think it's going to be a really good tour. I like it when there's package deals. I don't mind it when it's an evening with, because then you really have this intimate thing with just Alice. But my heart is like with the old rock shows.
It's a 1-2 punch, dude. Because
I love
it's like,
having,
are you upset that Van Halen's playing with Led Zeppelin? Like, are you mad about it, bro? Like, I'm not mad because, listen, I got schooled with Ace Frehley. I did not know how good he was, like, solo. Like, I saw him, like, talking off the side of the stage, and he was just, like, rambling to himself. But then when he came on stage, he was so on point, and he just, like, he blew my mind. I was like, anything that I had ever thought that Ace Frehley wasn't the best
I played
guitarist
the solo
singer.
on Snowblind. I played the guitar for this Eric Carr project. I played the lead guitar for Snowblind. It was one of the hardest solos that I've had to like pick out in a long time.
It's fucking hard, dude.
But I love doing it because it was a whole process. Because Ace was obviously, the reason why I showed you that Cherry Burst, the reason why I play a Cherry Burst is partly because of Ace. So, that's what we'll be doing in September, October. And then 2022, fingers crossed, we're going to go back out and start touring packed, those like jam packed. Like I said, I want to get. We've had enough time off to reflect about all the things that we might have stopped appreciating these last couple of years, and about touring. Oh, it's the road. It can get hard. Time away. Yeah, I get all that. But guess what? This is what you do. It's what you've always wanted to do. So you have the opportunity to go out and do it again. Enjoy the fuck out of it. And if you're not playing music, start learning an instrument, or start doing what it is that you love. Because that's the other thing that this whole pandemic and time off has taught us, at least taught me, is that you got to do stuff that you like doing. You got to, because it's really too short if we don't. It'll go by quickly. As long as it's been. Hasn't this year and a half kind of gone by kind of like this?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Should we leave like everybody on an introspective soliloquy, courtesy of one Ryan Roxie, the great guitarist from Alice Cooper with his 12-step method to teach anybody, including
12.
people.
System
12.
12.
See, I can't even remember. I can't
12
listen.
steps out.
8, 6, 7, 5, 3, 0, 9. That's what my brain can remember, and that's it, Ryan. So
Maybe
I'm not
you need
good
to
for this.
enroll yourself into the 12-step program. That might actually help.
It's really more of just being a better person is what I need to do. I don't need. There's no alcohol involved.
There's no number of steps that can get you there.
Yeah, it's more like steps to like trying to be better at everything.
Check out.
That's a very Jordan Peterson 12 rules of life. Who's another guest that we've had on the podcast. So if I can steer some people over to our podcast,
Absolutely.
In the trenches.
One hand washes the other, both hands wash the feet. That's what my buddy Weeds used to say. And he was an old roommate, and he lived in the room that I think Siobhán is now taking hold of.
This is a green screen. She just actually has a giant cat that looks like this sitting behind her.
Yeah. No.
Only a matter of time before it came back. But if I am going to leave with any sort of philosophical advice, is just enjoy the ride. I'm kind of like Damone from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which is another great movie that you might want to check out.
Does this mean it's our time?
No, that's actually Spicoli saying that line.
No, I know.
My favorite guy is Damone because he's the one that sells the Aerosmith and Cheap Trick tickets, the Rick Nielsen, Robin Zander, Your Mama's All Right, da 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 da. But the most important thing he says is wherever you are is the place to be. And that's, I think, a good way to end this.
Right.
Absolutely.
And you've been 2020. Please subscribe 2020-d.com and Cory Peza.
Yeah, RyanRoxie.com. Was it Ryan Roxie Official on YouTube and
That's
Instagram? Is it the same for that?
At Ryan Roxie, yeah. Basically just type into whatever social media poison you...
use the Google.
And if you go see Alice Cooper with Ace Frehley, the Space Ace, this summer, you're going to see Ryan rocking out with Tommy and with Nita Strauss, who, if you haven't heard Nita on her solo stuff, she went out with Angel Vivaldi, who we had on the show. Yep. She is a shredder, demon, hurricane, crazy lady, blazing it up for everybody. Like, she's insane. So, the whole show is insane.
Don't forget about our lead singer. Don't forget about our drummer.
There's a guy named Alice Cooper. Glenn Sobel, by the way, I got to tell you, he is one of the most fun dudes to watch live. Glenn Sobel, he just is the guy that you understand why he's played with everybody. He fills in with everybody. He's kind of like the more rock Max Weinberg.
the only thing more fun than watching him on stage is watching him in catering.
That's
What's
where it's
that
most
like?
fun to watch everyone, I think.
It's
Does he go
weirder. It's weirder than watching the relationship with you and that stuffed animal cat. That's what I'm saying.
That's strange, Glenn Sobel. We need to find out what's going on.
Find out the mystery of all. Have Glenn on the podcast. I think
You
he'd
should
love
tell
it.
you should
We
tell
would
Glenn
love
because
to.
I've met him by. I also have a picture I can send with him where he shows how freakishly tall he is by comparison to me.
And on
I feel like well, at least his hair is.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. It's been a pleasure being on the show, guys.
Thank you so
appreciate
much
it.
for
Thank
coming.
you.
Please, we really
Our
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
take
Thank
care
you so
and have fun
much.
on the
Good
road
one,
this
guys.
year.
See ya.
Thank you
Take it
again.
See you out there.
I tried, but I could never really understand this business thing. It went from getting in the van, us busting ass, things going okay, selling millions of records, all this shit, blah, 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 and that quick. And we were so busy. Our schedule was so busy. The only thing that mattered was playing, being able to perform every night. And you know, I'm proud to say that I know every time I ever fucked up. Every live show, I remember every mistake, and there's 4 of them. That was it. And I mean, I'm talking about like, you know, missing the snare.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or going to grab a cymbal and knuckling it. But other than that, you know, I paid attention to the music. I tried to understand the rest, but luckily there were all these people getting paid a ton of money to take care of all of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I didn't see bills, and then I was a millionaire, and I didn't see bills when I was broke or filed taxes, and when I was a millionaire, I didn't see bills or file taxes either.
Wow.
Just played drums.